daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Daily Manchester United, and I'm back here, it's Kieran, and I found a Cormac Dooley, who's over in America. He's back, look at him! Our second Irishman joins us back on the Daily Manchester United. Cormac, long time no see, how are you?
Yeah, no, doing good. Yeah, it's been a long old while, right? I think last episode I done was actually right before the season started, when we started up the new season on the podcast. But no, yeah, good back in America now. Had a good time over in Sunderland the past year, so yeah, no, enjoying the sun over here.
Stark contrast to the the absolute pitch black I've got at the moment. Yeah, we are multinational. That's what we are. An Irishman in America. You can't write this stuff. Anyway, I mean, you were out there, Cormac, obviously furthering your own career, but we were saying, in the green room before we started recording, you'd met a certain former Manchester United player.
Yeah, no, reason I returned to the US so unexpectedly really was got offered a trial with USL One club over here, Charlotte Independence. So went on a trial with them for a few weeks, and turns out their first team coach was Gabriel Obertan, former United winger. So it was a pretty surreal experience seeing him the first day there, and it was just great working under him, listening to what he had to say, and he could definitely still play. The guy is still very fit and quite jacked, so definitely wouldn't put it past him getting on the pitch again.
Do you reckon he can make it in the current United side?
You never know, to be honest. You never know. He might do a job on that wing.
Gabriel, if you're listening to us, get on the phone to Hammer and see if we can arrange a trial. Not that he needs one anyway. Right, let's jump into a couple of talking points for this episode. We'll start a little bit more lighthearted because, according to Adam Marshall on the official Manchester United website, Casemiro has regained the Brazil captaincy. Adam Marshall writes that Manchester United fielder is in Asia with his country, with friendlies against South Korea and Japan, providing tests for next year's World Cup finals in mind. I mean, that's pretty good. He's quoted here saying, "I'm one of those players who thinks there are many leaders and ways to lead, each one forming their own leadership. I like to give more examples, more details how to do it, how to get there, how to be, where to be, and how to work. Without a doubt, my relationship with the coach, whom I've known for over 10 years, creates a greater affinity, but I like to demonstrate it and set an example for the younger ones." That makes sense because, like I have to remind myself constantly, Cormac, the current Brazil manager is Carlo Ancelotti. Once you realise that all makes complete sense why Casemiro's regained captaincy.
Yeah, no, 100%. I actually forgot he was Brazil manager until you said, but yeah, 100% it makes sense. And no, it's good steps forward for Casemiro. I think a few years ago maybe you would have thought he mightn't be getting near that Brazil team, at how he wasn't playing that great for United, but good steps forward, in the squad and then given captaincy. And I like to see lads like that getting captaincy. Casemiro is experienced, as you said. And then obviously, he won a handful of Champions Leagues. He's won a lot in his career, and he is a great example for, Brazil have a lot of those youngsters coming up, players like, Estevao for Chelsea and like that. Great example, and it's good steps for him. And I thought he's done decently well this season so far for United. I've been happy with how he's doing.
Yeah, and he's in the last year of his contract, as we discussed on yesterday's podcast. But, is that something you're worried about? Would you be happy if he, say, were to sign a contract extension? Would you like to see him beyond this season?
I wouldn't mind seeing him beyond the season again, but I think I'd have to see a bit of a pay cut maybe taken by him. I'm sure he's on, a lot of wages from that deal he originally signed with us, and but I could also see maybe, he's getting older, possibly going to Saudi. I feel like a team in Saudi would love to offer him a contract. And, at this point of his career, he's won a lot, as I said. I wouldn't really fault him, for heading out there at the twilight days and getting a nice paycheck. But in terms, though, of being a leader, Brazil captain and being a person in the dressing room, I would like to see him stay. And I think he does have another year of football to give us. But ideally, I would like to see us get a younger, fresher defensive midfielder in the future.
Yeah, I agree. And speaking of sort of Saudi links, there's news coming out, as we see today, about 3 hours ago, reported by Jonty Coleman of BBC Sport, saying that Turkey Al Sheikh, a Saudi Arabian government official who's one of the most influential people in the world of boxing, posted a cryptic message on Twitter and X suggesting that Manchester United are in an advanced stage of a takeover. In that post, he said, "The best news I heard today is that Manchester United is now in an advanced stage of completing a deal to sell to a new investor. I hope he's better than the previous owners." However, a separate article by chief football news reporter of BBC Sport, Simon Stone, says that multiple sources close to United say the claim is untrue. Well, again, we're talking about sort of how there's been a lot of Saudi influence in football recently. You take Newcastle, you've got now you've got the Saudi World Cup, I think, in 2034 as well, as an unopposed bid, because you had Spain, Portugal and Morocco host the 2030. And as per the rules, it's something like a federation can't compete or can't put in a bid for the World Cup for the next, I think it's 2 or 3 bids once they've won it again, something like that. And what it meant was Saudi Arabia ran unopposed. Is this welcome news to you, Cormac?
It's kind of strange news, to be honest. We just had Jim Ratcliffe and that whole ordeal in the recent years. I think Ratcliffe, he has like 51% of the shares in his group. So I'd imagine it would be the other side would be bought. I don't know now how big this takeover is suggested to be. But, I don't really know if I believe it. As I say, you're hearing one group say it's true and the other saying not true. But, I mean, if more money was coming in, obviously I'd be happy. But I don't want this to, turn into a whole merry-go-round, with the ownership. I'd like to see, Ratcliffe follow through with his proposal. And obviously, we have the new stadium coming in and stuff like that. So if the money's good, I'd say yeah. But I'd say for now, I wouldn't be too keen on it, to be honest.
Mm. And speaking of Sir Jim Ratcliffe, he spent £1.3 billion for a 28.94% stake of Manchester United. So it's less than a third. Yeah. It's less than a third, but it took over control of football operations with his stake with Ineos taking over that. And I don't know if you saw as well his interview with Sky Sports News. We touched on it on the episode yesterday about how he's given Amorim 3 years to sort of prove himself. But there were some interesting quotes that came out of this interview. I don't know if you heard them. One of them was Sir Jim Ratcliffe saying, "You can't run a club like Manchester United on knee-jerk reactions to some journalist who goes off on one every week." So, Cormac, I think you and I are safe. We're not going to have any influence in any decision that Jim Ratcliffe takes. But when he was asked if Amorim was going to get 3 years, Ratcliffe replied, "Yes, this is where I would be 3 years because football is not overnight. It's 3 years. You also look at Mikel Arteta at Arsenal. He had a miserable time over the first couple of years. We have to be patient. We have a long-term plan. It isn't a light switch." I mean, that's fair enough. We talk about in modern football that there is too much weight on short-term success. Take the new manager bounce, for example. There's a lot of sway amongst that. A new manager comes in, suddenly the club's form upticks. But what isn't mentioned is how many managers are given the chance, say 3, 4, 5 years, to build on what they believe to be their vision. You don't see that often nowadays. I think the best example of it you have is Diego Simeone at Atletico Madrid. He's been there for, I want to say, at least a decade now. And you know what you're heading into when you head to Atletico Madrid. You are heading for a ruthless game. You are heading for defensively solid. And you are expecting a game and an atmosphere that is just absolutely terrifying. It's those sort of identities that need long-term vision, at least half a decade to implement properly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I actually didn't hear that quote from him. So yeah, 3 years is interesting. I do like giving managers time, as you said. I think you see in football too often managers getting sacked all too quick. The only concern I really have is, if you're doing terrible, do you still stick to that 3-year plan? If obviously he came in, a couple of months through the season and he has to get his team all through last year, but we finished 16th. We were pretty low down, and if we were to go on, God forbid, and finish low like that again, I feel like, can you really give him another year? I feel like 2 is like a good number. But he's got good players in. I do like the signings he's brought in this summer. And I'm hoping, we're starting to see a bit gelling at times from the team, but if we can just get that consistency, like you said, and create a real identity that we can stick to each game and teams know what they're playing against. Sorry. I do think success will come. It's just, how long do we wait if it isn't going well? Because I do feel like the squad, we have is better than a lot of the teams in the Premier League, really, on paper at least. So yeah, but it is good to see the owners back and the manager always.
Yeah, that's either a good sign or a very bad sign, isn't it? Because I said in yesterday's podcast, it's a case of if you have full backing off the board, it means you've probably got a maximum of 3 games left to turn things around. Normally, that's what that's code for. When we come back, though, after this short break, we'll talk more Manchester United news stories, and I'm sure we'll delve into Cormac's mind. We haven't heard from him from ages. It's worth to get his view on the season so far. Back after this.
Your daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.
Your body is unique. And Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bionic, the world's most personalised supplements. Bionic provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bionic. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
Your daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.
These quotes from Sky Sports News that I'm picking out actually come from the Business podcast, hosted by and produced by The Times and The Sunday Times. So this is all where we're getting these quotes from. And one that really caught my eye, and I couldn't really believe that I'd heard this. This is the last thing I will say about Amorim and this interview he did with the podcast. But when he's come in for, quite rightly, the criticism for the cuts he's made, how he's axed jobs and got rid of subsidised free lunches for staff, he says, quote, "The costs were too high. There are some fantastic people at Manchester United, but there was also a level of mediocrity and it become bloated. I got a lot of flack for the free lunches, but no one's ever given me a free lunch. Jim, you're a billionaire. You don't need a free lunch anymore." And that's not got to be true. Surely. Sure, at some point, someone has bought him a meal deal. I like to think the Tesco down the road, someone's just got him a meal deal. There you go. Now you have that, no payment. Keep your £3, probably was 5 years ago. Now it's about £7,000. But I couldn't believe he said that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you. I can't see that being true. I mean, some point in his life, as you said, out with a friend, someone offers to buy lunch, or even, when you're growing up, I'm still young enough. If I go out to dinner with my family, I won't be paying for it. My father's going to be paying for it. He probably won't be happy if I even offer to pay for it. So yeah, no, I think he was exaggerating that a bit there, Jim.
Yeah, it's maybe slightly dramatic overkill is that I think they call that. But he's trying to get his point across that he's defending his decision. I can't see that when he spent $250 million in the last transfer window alone. But, you can't. Sometimes you have to let bygones be bygones. You have to pick your battles, and apparently free lunches was the battle to win. But there is news about, as you mentioned earlier, the new stadium, because on the Thursday, the 9th of October, the communications department on the Manchester United official website has today launched a new phase of consultation with supporters on the club's ambition to build a new stadium that they say delivers the best fan experience in the world. This survey, which is being run by market-led commercial research companies, forms part of their ongoing commitment to place fans at the heart of planning for the future of Old Trafford. This just is a bit of a PR piece, but basically they want to get the fans' ideas about building a new stadium. What do they want? They've made links about how there'll be 92,000 new jobs. subsidised lunches to be discussed. But again, this is all a case of this whole mantra of building the world's best stadium. Now, is that a fair thing to be looking at this time? Because we've discussed new stadia before, and we've discussed how Old Trafford has a place in history. What do you do with Old Trafford afterwards? Do you revamp it? As we know, we've been mocked relentlessly and quite rightly for leaky roofs over the past few years. Is the new stadium, should it be a top priority?
I don't think it should be a top priority. Obviously, the football has to be the top priority at the club. But as you touched on, Old Trafford has, gotten a lot of slack recent times for the leaks in the roof. And it is, a very old stadium. It survived, a lot of damage in the past with the, the bombings during World War II and stuff. And it is such an iconic, stadium. Not many stadiums have a nickname like the Theatre of Dreams. So it is, sad to see a piece go away from us, really. But it seems like, all clubs, to move forward, you got to invest and you got to kind of modernize. And you've seen, at Real Madrid's stadium, you have Barcelona's new stadium. Obviously, in England, you have Spurs' new stadium. So I think it is kind of necessary to push forward in that way. Ideally, I would have liked to see Old Trafford just get revamped completely and not a whole new project like this. But I do think it is very exciting for the club, and I think it's kind of a bit of a pioneer piece. With all the new jobs and shops around, stuff like that. Don't really see that in any other stadium. So I think it is a very exciting project, but I wouldn't say it's really a top priority right now. I think getting back to Europe and playing good football should be the top priority.
Yeah, you'd like to think so, wouldn't you? I would prefer that, but I suppose you can't do it in a derelict stadium. That's I guess. But I still think Old Trafford has at least another decade in it. I mean, it's give or take how long it'll be before it goes into total disrepair, where it is just it's better to just demolish it. But it's sad that it's had to lead to this point where it's not really a viable option to renovate Old Trafford. It's a case of, well, no, we now need to build an entirely new stadium. And it's sort of, I guess, kind of that short-term thinking that's summed up over the last, well, it's not even the last 13 years, but, over the last decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, there's not been, especially 2 decades, when you've had Arsenal building their new stadium in the Emirates, which, mid-2000s, it was only until Arsene Wenger was right at the end of his tenure that the stadium had essentially been paid off with, constant Champions League qualifications. So the new stadium is worth it in the long run, but there needs to be that massive commitment to really, get it over the line and make it a really good project. The last thing you want to do is, put all this money into a stadium that's, can hold fewer people, doesn't have the best facilities, can't rival to the likes of Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, where they've got a kart track underneath, which is just so bizarre, but I love it. You've also got Everton's new stadium as well. The name eludes me, what its sponsored name is. Bramley Moor Dock, isn't it? What it was originally called. But I can't remember what it's called at the moment. Do forgive me, Everton fans, I'm sorry. But yeah, I guess this consultation, that we'll leave a link in the description so you can share your views. Fans will be asked about their preferences, priorities and expectations, including the type of facilities, seating, pricing options, and everything under the sun, really. Now, they do note that fans will be shown a randomised selection of scenarios and potential products. So this is a very business approach of a fan survey. But I kind of think, build the stadium, hold lots of people, charge, not a lot. Perfect, in my mind.
Yeah, no, I think I'd be along the same lines as you. But I think it is good that, they are getting the fans input to things. I think, owners seem to, in the past, take just complete control of these decisions. And it is nice that they're getting the opinions, of football people who, have supported this club for many years, and probably a lot of them are locals in Manchester, I might imagine. So, from getting perspective from people who, understand the area, understand the football club, have grown into it, versus, people who have just come in the last few years, I think is great. And if they can, adjust, you mentioned prices, to keep them affordable, because you'd think with, big new stadiums would be a huge attraction, prices might drive up, and obviously United are a huge club. But I think it is great that they'll consult with fans and get their perspective.
Yeah, and it's important to note that all match-going supporters, including season ticket holders, official members and hospitality purchasers will be sent an email tonight, which is Thursday as you're listening to this, with a link to participate in the survey. And they say you have until the 6th of November to put in your responses. So do look out for that email that is to come through. Cormac, I mean, it's been ages since we've had a chat together. We're 7 games into the season. How have you felt it's gone so far?
Yeah, to be honest, I actually was pleased with our start. I thought the Arsenal match, we played really well. Thought we deserved to actually win that match. And, Cunha and Mbeumo, I thought were a breath of fresh air in that attack. And then even the full game, we didn't play as good, but I thought we still could have came away with a win there. Unfortunately, drew. And then we reached the Grimsby Town game. And that's kind of where
I was hoping you didn't mention that.
Yeah, I know. It was God. That was a rough one to watch. It kind of was in my mind again, like, oh no, here, like we go again. Like could be another poor season. And then we kind of had, the City game was, 3-0. It was kind of a whitewash, and but I have been more pleased. We had the win against Chelsea, which was huge, although I thought Casemiro was going to maybe cost us something there. Not sure what he was doing, even trying to attempt that tackle on the yellow. But no, I think the big key for me is we finally have a goalkeeper. I think Senny Lamans looked superb against Sunderland. And I think, honestly, there's a lot of points we miss because of our keeper mistakes. Obviously, granted, it was in the cup, there's no point to say, but Onana really cost us that Grimsby game. Then you have Bayindir's made, a handful of mistakes, hasn't looked confident. And it's just so great to have a keeper in goal you feel is trustworthy. And I seen Peter Schmeichel say recently that, him, Van der Sar, De Gea, they were expected to be saving United 9-10 points a season, not giving away 9-10 points a season. And I think, if we just have Lamans doing the basics, shot stopping, no mistakes, I think that would really propel us, into gear. And I am excited. Cunha's kind of coming back from injury. Really liked him at the start. And Mbeumo, huge fan of. And yeah, De Ligt obviously has been playing superbly. Lenny Yaro, I've been a great fan of. I think the team is really starting to gel nicely, and win against Sunderland, hopefully we keep it going. But yeah, and then we obviously no Europe this season, but hopefully, that will just give us time to focus on the Prem, and we'll have the FA Cup as well. No League Cup. But no, I'm excited. I'm excited what's in store. I think it will get better.
Yeah, let's hope so. Hey, I mean, we don't have to worry about a cup competition until January, so at least our festive period can't be ruined too much. Although the festive period is still to come. I remember last Christmas was a pretty dismal one. Hey ho, it is what it is. Cormac, it's great to have you back. Not a dismal showing there. We've got our second Irishman back for the long term. He went on loan, but he's back now, and just as good as he left.
Appreciate it.
Well, I'm sure Cormac will be joining us on future episodes on the Daily Manchester United, and hoping you will join us as well on future episodes. If you like what you're listening to, don't forget to make sure you follow the podcast either on Spotify or Apple down below. Make sure you give us a 5-star rating if you think we deserve it. I think we do, but I might be a bit biased. If you're listening, though, on Spotify and Apple, don't forget you can watch us on YouTube. All the videos will be uploaded as and when, and you can watch the videos there. It's on YouTube. It's at GSPN Daily Man United Podcast. It's so long, so you have to remember it. And perhaps you're taking a disagreement to what Cormac or myself have said on today's episode. If so, let us know on social media. We are at GSPN Man United on Twitter and X. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, and we're on TikTok. Get involved with the conversation. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to start a conversation. Might turn into an argument, but we're here anyway. That's why we're here. Hopefully you've enjoyed today's episode and the homecoming, the return of one Cormac Dooley. I've loved it. He's loved it. You've loved it. In the meantime, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.
Your daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.